Hello, you're watching World Without Rule of Law. Welcome to another segment of an unscripted moment. It's been a while since I did one of these, and I had something on my mind I want to talk about briefly. It's born out of a couple videos I saw a month or so ago, and I just kind of want to collect my thoughts for a while before I did this. But I want to touch base with, it has to do with prepping and having a group, a support group, a M.A.G, if you will, mutual assistance group. And I watched a couple videos. There's a few channels that deal with prepping and survival that I really enjoy. And not for anything, but it just so happens that the guys that have the channels have a military background. So I feel that they're very qualified to talk about the subjects they do. And I'm not disputing what they said in any way, because I believe they are far more qualified than I am. But I kind of wanted to offer an additional perspective. So there was this one video, one of the guys said, they had a gentleman that wanted to join their mutual assistance group, and he was maybe, I think they said early mid-60s, and it might have been him and his wife, or just him, I don't really remember. But he wanted to consider him. He really wanted to, give him a chance and see who he was and do all this. And the other guys in his group dismissed him summarily because of his age. And so I want to talk about that for a minute. Another channel, did something like, I don't remember the title of it. It was like a bad offense, no offense is worse than a bad offense, or something like that. And he articulated his point pretty well, and I agree with what he's saying. So there's people out there that are older. There's people out there, well, like myself, who aren't in the best physical shape. And I struggle with that, and I always have, and I have successes and I have failures, and so it is what it is. It comes down to self-discipline. I'm not making excuses for it. It's a shortcoming of mine. And I have, I've had surgery, I've had accidents, construction accidents, I've had my spine fused together, so I've got some issues. There's guys that, guys I prep with, a couple of them. One of them's ex-military. He's got some issues, physical issues, and he's on some meds, and those conditions aren't ideal, right? But so these gentlemen that have these channels, a few of them, they've been prepping for decades, survivalists, and so they've got these places, these retreats, right? And they've had enough food for them and their wives, or them and their families, probably 10 years ago, and they kept collecting food, right? So now they've got places built, cabins, whatever, and who knows, because a lot of times for operational security, they don't really show what they have, and I get that, and that's probably prudent as well. But they can offer a place. So if you got a guy who's, say in his 20s and he's in top physical shape, and he's got some military background, and he's a really good tactics guy, and he'd be a really good offensive patrolling guy to have in the group, but maybe he was never aware of the need to prep, and he wasn't prepared, and something happened, they could recruit that guy, right? Hey, come with us. This is what we would expect of you, and for that we will give you a place to live out of the weather, and that's warm in the winter, and we will give you food, and we will have somebody on site that could take care of your medical needs, and blah, 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 whatever. So that's great, right? That's great. Not everybody's at that point, right? I'm not. I mean, I've lived in this town all my life. I've known people here all my life. I've got a very small group because I find it very difficult. I find building that group one of the most difficult things, because for me, there's got, in order to have someone that I would be willing to do this with, there's got to be trust there. There's got to be a certain level of trust. So I got this one guy, like I said, he's ex-military. He's got some issues. He's on meds. He's got a few. He's in pretty decent shape, but yeah, he's got some physical issues that prevent him from doing certain things. But I'm proud to have him in my group because we work together. He's retired now, but we have worked together for years, and we've been through some things. I don't really want to get into it, but let me just say that I trust this guy with my life. To me, that's important. Now, that being said, these other guys that have these things to attract these younger guys, these patrollers, whatever, do they have a better chance of surviving than I do with my group, with these guys? Absolutely they do. And I get that, but I'm not prepared to offer people a place like that. Somebody that I'm going to team up with has to bring their own food. They have to bring their own everything. Like, I'm struggling to get myself set up. So we're at a lower level of preparedness. And yet at the same time, we still need to have a group. So again, I've grown up in this town my whole life. I've known people in this town my whole life, and I'm finding it difficult to form a group. So now my wife and I are constructing this homestead project in Virginia, 650 miles away. We don't know anybody. I've been there half a dozen times, right? I think that's kind of the ultimate goal in our preparedness, is to get self-sufficient there and be able to grow food and maybe have some livestock and some chickens, or we can get some eggs and maybe some goats or rabbits or whatever. We're going to see. We've got plans, and so we're fixing up the house now, and we're getting the place ready. We're going to move down there sometime, whenever, and then from there we're going to grow that. We're going to become as self-sufficient as we can, and that's kind of where our prepping is going now. What do we do down there for a group? Like I said, we don't know anybody. It's hard forming a group up here. And a lot of people I do know and trust don't want anything to do with it because they think we're crazy for prepping and we're never going to need to do that. And this is, they look at us like you got three heads. So you got that to deal with too. I got one neighbor that I know down there in Virginia. I trust him. He's a great guy. I've gotten to know him. He's helped me with some projects. I've helped him. We've worked together. He's in phenomenal shape. He's 72 years old. Is he going to be hauling water up the bank from the river? Is he going to be, on an offensive patrol? Am I going to be on an offensive patrol? Is anybody in my group going to be? It's going to be difficult. We need that. We're lacking that. We don't have anything to entice anybody. So if a gentleman that's 63 has an interest, if I get to know him from church down there or from whatever, and he has an interest in joining our group, we've got to consider him. We don't have the luxury of saying, no, you can't join because of your age. We've got age too. And so and then when you look at age, right, how about some attributes that come with that? How about wisdom? How about life experience? How about humility? Like humbleness, right? Maybe this guy that's older doesn't come in thinking that he's God's gift to the group. Maybe he doesn't feel like there's certain jobs that he's too good to do. Maybe he's willing to do any job he has to do to help the group survive. What about good judgment? What about discernment? These things are worth something, right? And sure, you need the people that can go out and physically hump the ground with the rifles and the plate carriers, when and if it gets to that point. The reality of it is, maybe we won't have anybody in our group like that. Maybe we'll all die. Are we going to do everything we can to survive? Yes. Would I love to have some young, ex-Marines with tactical training and, yeah. I love to have a doctor too. The realism of attracting those people with what we have to offer probably aren't that great, because there's these other guys that have 50 acres that have been preparing for 30 years, and they've got to set up where they can offer these people way more than we can. And for me, there's got to be trust. It's got to be somebody you know. I don't know if I could just recruit a stranger, even if I had a place to put them and food to give them. How do I know he's not going to get up in the middle of the night and cut my throat and take everything we own? So there's a lot to it, right? A lot to this. But the point is, in my opinion, don't summarily dismiss somebody just because they're a little older, or because you don't see them as the ground pounder, you know, the runner and the gunner. Because the reality is, not everybody is going to fill that role. And you know, then there's two schools of thought on that too, because like, I know like the Marine Corps, right? Everybody's a rifleman, first and foremost. So this guy could be a medic, this guy could be an accountant, this guy could be a cook, this guy could fix Humvees in the motor pool. When the need arises, they can all put on their plate carriers and their gear and their backpacks and grab their rifle and go march 20 miles. So I get it. You know, I get when these other channels, they say, you know, you have to have this level of conditioning. And in the right circumstances, if you can, you know, you have enough to offer these people and you have your pick of anybody to join your group, I get why you're looking for those people. But again, not everybody's at that level. Not everybody has those things to offer. So consider the older people. Consider, you know, the guy that's going to come in and, again, be willing to do any job, not feel like he, you know, one of the guys that I watch, and I respect these guys, and like I said, they, you know, they certainly know what they're talking about. He recommended a movie talking about prepping and talking about the group dynamic, and it was Defiance with Daniel Craig, right? It's 80, maybe 81, whatever movie. And it's a true story. The Bielski brothers, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but they were, I believe it was in Belarus, Russia, right? And so they are forced into the survival situation. And so they want, you know, they're at odds. There's three brothers, but two of them really are kind of like the power struggle. And the oldest one, he wants to take in everybody. He wants to just help everybody. And he's got that spirit, you know, like, and we just have to survive together. And then the second oldest, you know, the middle brother, he's more like, no, you know, we've only got so much food, we've only got so much resources, we have to take care of us, and we have to be very picky about who comes in, and these guys are too old, they can't join, and these people are whatever. And so he wants to narrow the group down. And so, sure, the food will last longer, you know, it'll be easier to move around in the woods and not get caught, right? Because you don't have this huge group slowing you down. Well, the other brother doesn't accept it, and they end up having, like, all these people. And they deal with all that. Like, it's difficult. They're moving through the woods. Well, in the end, they ended up surviving, you know, to the end of the war in several years, and they built this huge community, and so I think it was a success, right? But at one point, it shows this guy who's younger, very physically capable, and he's one of the guys that goes out on patrol and provides the security. But see, then he feels like he's entitled to more, right? Like, maybe I deserve a drier, warmer place to sleep because I'm keeping everybody safe. You know, maybe I deserve, when food's getting low, maybe I should still have a full ration so that I can have the strength in the morning to get up and go walk and patrol, right? Whereas everybody else, you know, the older guy who fixes the guns, the gunsmith, or the younger lady who mends the socks for the soldiers, maybe they only deserve half a ration, right? Maybe I should deserve better medical care. If there's only so many antibiotics, maybe your priority should be to keep me alive because I'm the security guy, right? Because you all are operating here, but I'm operating here. So what does that do, like, to the group? What does that do, you know, to the whole group dynamic? And so that movie was good, and they kind of look at that, and I enjoyed that movie. It was a true story. And there's no real answers, I don't think, there. You know what I mean? It's just very thought-provoking. I think that you come away with more questions than answers when you watch that movie. You look at things from a few different perspectives. It shows you a few different perspectives. So you come away from it, I did anyway, came away from it like, wow, yeah, like what about this, what about that, how is that going? And so like, they kind of go in a certain direction, it comes around full cycle, and I mean, I'm not going to go over the whole movie. I recommend it. It was a great movie. It was called Defiance. It was recommended by another channel. I watched it. It was very thought-provoking. I recommend it. For anybody who's prepping or surviving or looking to build a group, I think there's a lot there. There's a lot there to chew on, right? So, yeah, if you get a chance, watch it. I think it's on Netflix. Netflix or Amazon Prime. Those were the services I had at the time, and so I watched it on one of them. I'm not sure which one. I'm sure you could rent it and find it somewhere. I guess the main point is, don't just summarily dismiss people because of, their physical disability or their age or whatever the case may be. Everybody has value. And so yeah, you have to weigh that out with what do I have to offer and who am I going to offer it to, because everybody has value, but certain people maybe have more value than others. And so every group's going to be different as to what they have to offer and who they can afford to attract or entice, you know what I mean? So it's just stuff to think about. I appreciate y'all listening, and thanks everybody for subscribing, watching my videos, and everybody have a good evening, and I wish everybody the best in their prepping. God bless you all. Good night.